Let me tell you something. Shannon Sharpe is about to lose everything to a Karen, Hall of Famer, ESPN superstar. Shannon Sharpe is being accused of forcing himself on a Karen colored woman. I know what I mean. Why? Not a.
His life was ruined by a made-up story. This is Brian Banks.
He touched you? Yes, he did. Didn't he?
Shannon Sharpe has been sued for $50 million.
Because this woman claims that he sexually assaulted her multiple times over the course of a 2-year relationship.
To my family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart. This is a shakedown.
This is Drew, and I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of Real Talk Today. What I want to talk about today is women that make false accusations but don't suffer any consequences after the truth has been revealed. Let's talk about it.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into...
I really just want to go over a few of the other more well-known people that have been accused of stuff, and then in the end, they were found innocent, but it was too late. The lives were already ruined.
Heard and Deb divorced in 2016, and then in 2018, Heard wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post alleging that she was a victim of domestic abuse. And despite denying these allegations, Depp was canceled. And fast forward to today, and Depp is suing for defamation that Heard isn't the victim, but the perpetrator. It's a trial to determine truth, and that's never as simple and easy as it seems.
And I used to just believe women. Like, I would always just be like, oh, I'm so sorry. But then you start asking questions. It baffles me how women like her in the situation of them like being abused when they aren't.
A Karen just destroyed Jonathan Major before he came back on the other side and married goddamn Megan Good. Now there's definitely an attack on successful, rich black men. They don't matter with you if you're broke. So you crazy out there, Pookie, Ray, Bear, them, y'all all right. But if you rich, you going down.
Now, as you can see, I do like to use a few clips of old Nino Brown because he does have unique perspectives on some things. He's a little bit more animated than I am or than I want to be. So I kind of use the clips, but, you know, he makes some sense in a lot of things that he said because it definitely seems like it's some type of attack against all black men, especially the ones that's a public figure and got money. It seems like everybody's trying to get in their pocket some kind of way and bring them down.
Shannon Sharpe has been sued for $50 million.
Because this woman claims that he sexually assaulted her multiple times over the course of a 2-year relationship.
Planted by somebody on a mission to destroy Shannon Sharpe from becoming one of the biggest sportscasters of this generation.
Because he was so terrible that she just kept going back for more. She hired a well-known extortion attorney. She also says she doesn't want him to go to jail for the assault. She just wants the bag. 3 hours later, the proof that she literally asked for everything that he did to her. He cut her off in January when she started demanding $25K per link-up. I don't know about you, but ain't no box worth $25K per link-up. Right. Well, maybe if you skip Bayless. Allegedly, he paid $1.5 for the box.
His life was ruined by a made-up story. This is Brian Banks, a former standout linebacker for Poly High School.
Now, I realize today is basically talking about Shannon Sharpe because that's what's on everybody's feed. You know, I'm looking at the new YouTubers and whatnot. A lot of them got it on there. But I think this is bigger than Shannon Sharpe because, you know, just in recent history, we've had, it's looked like an uptick. Quite a few women that have accused men that are either already prominent and rich or getting ready to, you know, come up as far as the money and ruin their lives forever because people don't realize, you know, you can't come back, you know, from reputation because people are going to believe what they want to believe. And as human beings, we tend to want to believe the worst anyway. Let's just be real.
His life was ruined by a made-up story. This is Brian Banks, a former standout linebacker for Poly High School. In 2002, at the age of 16, Brian was accused of a gruesome act of sexual assault by classmate Juanetta Gibson. Following the accusations, Brian was expelled from school, arrested, and placed in the juvie. At the start of the trial, he was facing 41 years to life in prison, but accepted a plea bargain that included 6 years in prison and 5 years on probation, all for a crime he didn't commit. Following the case, Gibson and her mother even sued the school and won a $1.5 million settlement, claiming it wasn't a safe environment. But in March of 2011, Gibson and Banks met up in person, and Banks secretly recorded her admitting that she made the entire story up. Even with literal proof, Gibson refused to tell prosecutors that she had lied. Then, in 2012, Banks was exonerated from all his crimes, and the school even sued Gibson back, this time winning a $2.6 million settlement. Banks finally made it to the NFL with his teammates in 2013, signing with the Falcons, but was unfortunately cut.
Particular story, Brian Banks, I know, that's probably, something that went on a lot of years ago, but the bottom line is still something that is pertinent today when you're talking about women making these kind of accusations and ruining men's lives. Like the guy said, he had spent time in jail, reputation ruined, and he had to secretly record her saying it, and she still refused to go to the prosecutors to tell them that she had lied. And he finally got out, but by the time he got to the NFL, he basically lost his stride. So he's basically run.
If you're a woman who's accused a man of doing something to you, and then all of a sudden you got caught and you were lying about everything, you should serve all the time that he was going to have to serve.
Women cry abuse for everything, and we've actually lost the meaning of abuse. Some of them have had false allegations put out against them. And a lot of those, basically what the feminists do is they expand the definition of abuse to include things like coercive control, financial abuse, and even physical abuse. A lot of times, girls don't talk about how they hit first. And most abusive situations are mutually abusive, meaning they're both hitting each other. And so a lot of times what girls will do is they'll say, oh, I'm being abused, but they don't talk about how she hit him first.
That Shannon Sharpe was nearing a $100 million deal for Club Shay Shay.
We don't need you in court fighting for your freedom, fighting for your money, trying to defend your name on some allegations that we know is bogus, because we know how these HOs play out here, and we know they looking for a payday.
And so let's deep dive into that before we get over into the $50 million lawsuit. It says that Shannon Sharpe is on the market and the price is high, the Hall of Famer. And media with Colin Cowherd's The Volume Network has expired. He had a media deal with Colin Cowherd's The Volume Podcast Network, and he has reportedly received several offers for his talents and is expected to agree to a deal that could exceed up to $100 million. And then we pivot, and right after I hear that, this morning I wake up and I see that Shannon Sharpe is being accused of rape in a $50 million lawsuit.
It's starting to look like a lot of these women get in these relationships and all they're doing is coming in trying to figure out how they can finesse you from the beginning, or they wait until you get ready to come into some money, and then here they come all of a sudden coming out with all these accusations. Almost like a lot of these basketball wives, whatnot, they'll hang around, while their guys are in the league or whatnot, bringing in a big check, because a lot of times these guys are on the road a lot, so it's not really like they're really married, because hell, half the year they're gone. So all they're doing is putting money in the bank, and the old lady's basically living like she's by herself, but spending somebody else's money. But it seems like as soon as these guys retire, now they sitting around the house, all of a sudden now you getting on my nerve. I just can't do this no more. I'm ready for a divorce to find myself and give me half of your money, knowing that they haven't bounced one basketball. But I don't think these women understand. They're ruining families and they're ruining lives, and there is no coming back most of the time from these type of accusations.
Miss Yvonne took a lie detector test and said, did you make up or exaggerate any stories with the intention to harm Monzel? She responded no, and the answer was deceptive.
She lied.
Then he asked you, did you say something to the effect of, I'm going to make sure you're never happy again? She responded no, and the answer was deceptive.
Basically, bottom line here, this guy was, that woman that he was just looking at, she accused him when them girls behind him were younger that he was touching them, knowing darn well he hadn't done a darn thing. She just lied. That's just it. Oh, my God. Let's let it go.
So Miss Yvonne
Look
has
at them
acknowledged
evil eyes.
that her
She has no
story
soul.
about you touching your children in a sexual way was not true.
And she'll try to twist it. Wasn't her fault.
So Miss Yvonne, is anything that you wanted
Let's
to
see
say
what
to Mr. Monsell?
Why didn't you fight for him hard
Oh my
if you
God.
knew you
Excuse
didn't
me.
do it?
And what is it that he could have said
Nothing.
that would have made you not believe the lie you were telling?
Yep.
Miss
Nothing.
Yvonne, you told the lie. It was a lie, and you told it. And you gotta own it.
I'm sorry. I need you to say that you did not rape your girls. I need to hear it come out your mouth the way I've always heard it, Ma.
I apologize for accusing you of raping them. Please forgive me.
No, I don't want no forgiveness.
You don't have to forgive her.
That ain't
You don't
happening.
have to.
Family ruined.
I cannot accept your apology.
You better believe it.
Because it's not sincere.
Nope.
Deep down, I know that you didn't believe that. You knew I had no sexual desires for my children. For 25 years, this thing has broken me.
Yep. Man hurt.
You don't know. It has affected my life in ways I can't even count. The things that you did.
Yep.
This is not no game. This is these children's lives. And it's just a demon in you that you need to deal with.
Yep. This is what I'm talking about. Women don't understand these lies that they're telling. They're busting up not only the guy that you trying to get at because you pissed off at him, you ruining these kids' lives. These women right here, these girls, well, they're women now, but 9 times out of 10, they'll grow up and never trust a man. Never. They'll grow up be the same way as their mother, but that's all they've been looking at for 25 years, and it took that long for the lie to actually get exposed.
The smartest thing for a man to do right now to avoid these type of allegations, if he get him some real money, he on TV, he got success, he got a name for himself, is to leave these street walking heifers on OnlyFans looking for some goddamn clout in the streets alone.
Because I want to add to that, not only, leave them alone, because we're all human. We can try to act holier than thou, and we don't have sex, and people don't have desires or whatnot. If that was the case, the human race would have been died off. So we're not going to sit here and act like, something perverse is going on just because you're having sex with somebody. It makes no difference to me. But I don't think getting married and settling down at his age with that kind of money is the answer either. Because if you listen to society, when it's a man with a younger woman, they look at it as, you're perverted or whatnot, until you need to go get you an old woman and settle down while you full of life. But what they're not saying is, a lot of these old women, they're looking for to get the same thing out of you as these young ones. They're looking for a retirement plan in your wallet. Now, this next piece of clip that we get ready to listen to, basically, to me, it seemed like she was setting him up all the time. They had been together a year or two or whatnot, and then when things started to wind down or she felt like he was messing with somebody, whatever the case may be, she called him on the phone and recorded him and basically tried to set him up to say something that she could use against him later in court.
At the top of the statement, you can see, I want you to put a dog collar around my neck and choke me with it while you're blanking me. And this was a text message by Gabriella Zuniga, and back on October the 7th of 2023. I know you missed this big juicy blank, $25K for each cheek. That's what she sent to Shannon Sharpe on 11/1/2025.
I don't know. Anything I say, you're just gonna get mad at, and you're just gonna hang up on me. So I feel like
I'm not gonna hang up on you. Here's what it is.
what does that even mean?
Nothing yet. You want to be a to me now, so.
I don't want to be. Don't manipulate me.
Now he manipulating.
I don't know that mercy. If you say that one more time, I'm gonna choke the shit out of you when I see you.
They recording your phone calls. They recording you smashing them. They got all kind of camera now in the winds and shit. They screenshot your text message. Then when you cut them off, they filing lawsuits on that ass. They don't want justice. They ain't calling 911.
Yep.
They don't want you in jail. They want some money and they want to destroy your career in the process.
To my family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart. This is a shakedown. I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right. This is all being orchestrated by Tony Busby, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media. The encounter in question took place during the day at her invitation, and now that appears to be a deliberate setup, coordinated by Gabby, also known as Carly on OnlyFans. Gabby and Tony Busby want $50 million. What they're getting is sued for defamation and trying to take me down. My career is all about real talk and honesty. I know my family and fans know exactly what this is about. And I'm going to be out there telling you whatever I need to say, just like I always do. I love all you guys. Thanks.
Now, you all just heard Shannon Sharpe come out with his statement that he's been lied on. He's, nice and calm and whatnot, which he had to say something. I understand. The bottom line is, though, as far as him, he's basically being crucified, in public opinion or whatnot. First of all, I think a lot of it's going to lean toward his dating preferences, since he tends to lean toward, the white women.
Can I ask you a question? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Successful athlete. Yeah. A lot of money. A little bit of money, not a lot. Don't try to downplay it. I got a little bit. Bunny hopping. Not just saying. I'm just saying. Now, one time I've been to the sister. In your successful life, you have not flown someone in with the intentions of having sexual intercourse with them. My girlfriend. You should be a lawyer. God damn, you smart. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Women and whatnot. I mean, it is what it is. And, I ain't mad at him. You go where somebody wants you. You don't go where somebody, just want to tolerate you, go where you want it, So I've looked at that. For dating preferences, I could care less. As long as each person is legal and consenting, it makes no difference to me. But what I don't like is when we get this holier than thou attitude because, we may be older and settle in or whatnot, and then we get mad because somebody else is still living their life the way they want to live it. I think each person should live their life the way that they choose, because we don't have but one. There's nothing guaranteed on the other side. Now, this next guy we get ready to look at, he's going to talk about a situation that he's not somebody that's rich probably or whatnot, but he's going to talk about how easily, a consensual situation can turn into a SA charge, basically, where somebody, where a woman's accusing you of doing something that you're not even doing. But let's listen to it.
2018 during college, and there's this girl that I've been hooking up with. And every year our frat rents out a bunch of houses and we spend a weekend partying in another city. And it was a date event, so I decided to take her. On the first day, our group gets there kind of late, so there's already a bunch of parties going on. I drove up the whole way and was feeling tired, so I decided to stay sober that night. Party ends, the group, my date and I, we all head home, and at this point, everything's all good. We get to her room, we're talking, chilling, laying in bed. We start kissing, but after a minute, she starts freezing up and tells me that she's crossed and just wants to go to bed. And from my point of view, when she was telling me that, I continued to kiss her on the neck. But when I heard her say stop, I did, and we went to sleep. So the next morning, we wake up, and I could...
Now, guys, this part right here, look at this as a tale. He's trying to tell you, if she say no, if she acting any kind of way like she don't want to be there, don't want to be involved, it shouldn't even got to that. Because once she said no, stop the first time, you better get up with your clothes on, get on up out of there. But let's continue.
tell that things were weird, so I ask her what's wrong. She sits up and tells me that
nothing
I
to
should have
discuss.
immediately stopped kissing.
Get
This wasn't
out.
her first time, so I didn't realize that I was pushing any boundaries. And I felt terrible because I had no intention of making her feel uncomfortable. We continued to interact throughout the day, but as the weekend went on, told me that she wanted her own space, so for the rest of the weekend, we did our own thing. The weekend ends and I drive our group back to campus, and by this point, we're no longer talking. We all say our byes, and this is where the story gets interesting. The day after we get back, I get a random text from her roommate asking if we could meet up and talk about what went down. We meet up, and she says something to me that I'll never forget. How could you ever do that?
Oh my God.
How could you ever hold down a girl and forcefully finger her? I was in complete shock. It was the first time that I realized what she was telling others from her point of view. And here's where shit gets crazy. Her roommate and her schedules a meeting with my frat and demands that if I don't get removed, they're gonna start telling the school. So long story short, they had no choice but to remove me. And even though that's all she wanted initially, it didn't stop there. The very next week, I get an email from Title IX that there's been a sexual assault investigation launched against me. They started conducting interviews with myself, her, and the other people from the weekend. And after compiling texts, stories, and evidence, there's finally some good news. Title IX found me not guilty and that there was insufficient evidence to support her claims. And when I heard that, it's hard to say how relieved I was. It wasn't even happiness, I was just tired. But unfortunately, the story doesn't end there. Before we continue, I think it is important to note that this was in the middle of the Me Too movement, which without a doubt was a movement that did a lot of good in exposing real stories of abuse. But just like any movement, people can take advantage. When every accusation was accepted as truth, evidence didn't matter. Even when it was later found that the accusation was false, people's careers and reputations were ruined, while the accuser face no consequences. The unfortunate reality is that there will always be men and women who use movements as exploitation rather than genuine opportunities for change. And that's exactly why you should never blindly believe all women or believe all men. It's a mistake to believe all anything. There's always two sides to every story, and this is just my side. So a week later, even though Title IX found me not guilty, the school found out and wanted to conduct their own investigation. So to do so, they selected 4 random professors to serve as the sexual misconduct board, who took turns in questioning the both of us. And I don't know what it was, but I had a bad feeling. Sometimes our intuition is so spot on, especially when we don't want it to be. The board finds me guilty, and I was suspended immediately 6 months ago until graduation. The silver lining though was that there's still an opportunity to appeal, and so I had no choice but to hire a lawyer. I did lie detector tests and did everything I can to prove my innocence. And after a non-stop crazy week of compiling more evidence, looking at the school policies, and even threatening to sue for defamation, the school finally repealed their decision. And their reasoning, all they admitted was that there was a procedural error and that the case should immediately ended after Title IX found me not guilty.
Leave these hoes alone.
Well, the video is getting a little bit long, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. But before I leave, I wanted to actually, start the conversation. When is it gonna stop? When is it gonna be a situation where people that lie and ruin other people's lives get some type of consequence? Just like one of the ladies said in the video earlier, I feel the same way she does. You go out there and wrongly accuse somebody of doing something like that, a heinous crime like, essaying you or whatnot, and you've been found out that you lied, you should be subject to do the same amount of time that you were trying to get for the person that you lied on. I don't see where there's any type of incident where lying like that will be called acceptable. What matters to me is if all that was going on, you wouldn't have kept going back to him. You wouldn't have stayed with him for years, time after time after time. You're calling him, talking dirty to him. All this stuff was going on, but you kept going back. And then when you holler he did something to you, you didn't go call the police, go get a rape kit and this, that. Now, you didn't do any of that. You went straight to the lawyer to see how much money you can get. Come on now. We got to put a little common sense beside some of this. Like I said, I wasn't in this bedroom, but this is ridiculous. And with that, see you at the next one.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
Anxiety, filling up every space, no privacy.